In my search for sources of inspiration while working on my albums, I've discovered a disturbing pattern of behavior in Oton through conversations with various individuals who have fallen victim to lawlessness. Upon speaking with these victims, I've come to realize that some families are perpetuating a culture of hate and crime by consistently disrupting the peace and quiet of their neighborhood. This is achieved by transforming their residential lots into public venues, akin to concert venues where they host loud parties, play loud music for hours, and engage in drunken revelry. The noise pollution is merely the tip of the iceberg, as eyewitnesses report that outsiders are frequently allowed to come and go from these gatherings. Furthermore, when these individuals become drunk and rowdy, they often threaten and assault their neighbors, who are simply asking them to keep the noise down. As I delved deeper into this issue, I found that the problem extends beyond mere noise pollution. The families hosting these parties often refuse to cooperate with local authorities, such as the barangay and the police, when confronted about their behavior. In some cases, they may feign cooperation, only to mislead and misdirect the investigators, thereby stalling or hindering their efforts. A common alibi used by these individuals is to claim that they are hosting a birthday or celebration, despite the fact that these events occur with alarming frequency. This raises questions about the effectiveness of law enforcement in addressing these issues, particularly when such blatant excuses are repeatedly used. Moreover, what's even more shocking is that some of the most notorious perpetrators of this behavior are families of teachers, who seem to be leveraging their influence and connections to shield themselves from accountability. This phenomenon is not entirely surprising, given that studies have shown that educators are more likely to develop a superiority complex due to the nature of their occupation. This sense of superiority may lead them to believe they are above the law, which is a classic case of abuse of power and influence. The reputation and connections of these teachers have likely earned them a level of respect and admiration in the community, which they use to silence their critics and avoid scrutiny. As a result, they view any complaints against them as personal attacks, rather than legitimate concerns about their behavior, and continue to repeat this pattern of abuse and law-breaking with impunity. The fact that these families are able to use their status as teachers or education sector employees to escape liability and accountability is a textbook example of how quid pro quo and debt of gratitude can work in favor of those with influence and power. It is likely that the teacher's family has built relationships with local politicians and officials who are either intimidated or beholden to them. In return for their loyalty and support, the family is given a free pass to operate their commercial venture without fear of reprisal. The police, who are supposed to uphold the law, are often dissuaded from investigating the family's activities due to the teacher's influence and connections. This highlights the deep-seated corruption and cronyism that plagues Oton, where those with influence and connections are allowed to flout the law, while their victims are left to suffer in silence. In addition to the corruption and abuse of power, the presence of a large family and a well-connected teacher has likely made the family a valuable asset to local politicians, who see them as a source of votes and influence. In return, the family is given a level of protection and immunity from prosecution, which allows them to continue their activities without fear of consequences. This is a sad commentary on the state of justice in Oton, where the powerful and well-connected are allowed to harass and abuse their influence and power, while the vulnerable are left to suffer. The neighbors, who have repeatedly reported the family's activities, are left feeling helpless and frustrated as their complaints fall on deaf ears. As I reflect on this situation, it becomes clear that demanding justice and accountability from the leaders in Oton may be a futile effort, at least for the time being. However, it is essential to acknowledge that the victims of these families' behavior deserve justice, and one can only hope that future leaders will work to discontinue this corrupt culture. Ultimately, as long as these families continue to lack self-awareness of the culture of criminality they help perpetuate, the social fabric in Oton and its peace and order will continue to be eroded. It is crucial for the community to come together to address these issues and work towards creating a more just and equitable society, where everyone is held accountable for their actions, regardless of their influence or connections.